This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Any questions, guys? Any questions from our Friday session that I can answer? Anything that I can take? Anything that I can answer? Again, we were looking into storage accounts, and specifically, we were looking into one section of the storage account called containers. And inside a container, we went ahead. We uploaded something called as a blob. Blob, nothing but file, or we call it as a blob out here, binary large object out there. So again, a tenant, a subscription, and under a subscription we went ahead created something known as a resource group, in short for RG. So let's check out where my resource group icon really is. All right, so a resource group, and under a okay. Guys, can you please go on mute if you're not speaking already? Thank you. Under a resource group, we went ahead created something known as a storage account. Again, under one resource group you can have multiple storage accounts out here, and you can have access at a storage account level as well. You can give access to a particular developer or a particular tester at a storage account level as well. And inside a storage account, we went ahead and we created something known as a container. This is the representation for a container. And under a container, we went ahead created something called as our blobs. Again, when we uploaded or when we created a container, the portal asked us what kind of an access level we need for a container, whether is it private container or blob level of access. And if I had or if I have a blob out here, and again I have multiple things, multiple files out here. So if I just go ahead, take a particular blob, I get a URL for that particular blob, a unique resource link for that blob. I copy it, paste it into a browser, and say enter. I probably might not be able to load the file. Reason being, my access level at a container level or the access level on a container is private, which means that it's no anonymous access out here. But if I switch it to either a blob or a container, let's put it at container and say okay. And if I take the same URL again and if I reload this particular page, I will be able to go ahead and see whatever are the files and whatever are the images or whatever is my data. I can place all these things inside this and I can get what I need over the internet out here. But again, this was not really the intention that I wanted. The intention was something different. And the intention here is that though my blobs are in private, I should let a controlled access or I should give someone a controlled access out here. Okay, fine. I should give someone a controlled access out here onto my blobs out there. And that is where I was asking y'all to give me some ideas that can you please go ahead read this out and see how you can share a blob in a controlled way, not in let's say the way that I'm doing right now, wherein I'm just going ahead exposing my blog to let's say the entire public. Again, this is a situation which is followed in public websites and etc. We were talking about Telangana Chalan portal and all these things out here. All right. Any questions still here? Anyone? Any questions still here? And did you all try reading about this? Yes. Anyone? Any questions still? Can you move the data you're talking? Yes, you can. You can copy and you can move the data. So you can do that. Programmatically, you can do that, or using the portal, you can do that, or using a software called Storage Explorer, you can do that. You can do that. Shouldn't be an issue. Yes. You cannot. That's what. You cannot do it in a browser. All these files, if you want a single, let's say, page to display all these files, you will have to design such a page. It's called a console application. So you'll need a console application to do that. You cannot do all the blobs at one go in a simple same URL, which is provided directly by Microsoft. So we'll talk about that again, multiple files and multiple blobs and all that stuff. Yes, so my question here is specifically towards this is that, see, I am not comfortable. I am not a user who's comfortable, or I'm not a company who's comfortable putting my container in a blob level or a container level access. It has to be in private. Now, when you start working in an organization, you probably will see these grayed out. Organizations are going to, let's say, put some kind of a setting out here, which will gray this out. Which means that if you just go to a storage account, I'm sorry, between both, so between blob and container, not much of a difference. Blob will let you read individual files. Now, there are few properties for the container as well, like the URL for the container, and there's something called metadata, which will give you information about, let's say, key value pairs and tagging information, etc., on a container. Sorry. Data of a data, exactly. I mean, it's called metadata, which means that the key value pairs and all that stuff for a particular blob. So if the access level is at the container, or if the access level here is at the container, you'll be able to see the properties, you'll be able to see the metadata, you'll be able to read all this information. But if you are on a blob, it's only these particular files inside, or this particular blobs inside a container is what you'll be able to read. So that's what it is telling you. Anonymous read access for blobs only, not the container. It's telling anonymous read access for the containers and the blobs. So container data and the blob data, yes, both of them are there. Uh, they Mhm. Correct. Mhm. What's the logic to give container access? Using a software, I can open it out. Using PowerShell or some kind of programmatic language, I can open it out. Yes, I mean not third party. I would say a custom software, a proprietary software by Microsoft. You cannot directly use a third party software out there. You can use programs. You can do .NET, Java, Python. Put this particular container link. Grab all the data out there. You can do that. Not from a browser. From a browser, no. From a browser, if you want to, that's what I was telling. You'll have to design your own page, which can go inside that container, get all the data, and give to you. That's also possible. So yes, any more thoughts here? Let me delete these things out. There are a lot of gaps or spaces basically that got, let's say, into this one. And let me re-upload a couple of blobs more. And let's take a couple of sample files out here. So I am sitting on private. I won't allow you to, let's say, change this out. And if I don't do that, very simply, I can go ahead and, put some policies on top of this container telling that you are not able, or you are not allowed to, let's say, go ahead and switch this to, let's say, blob and container. And that's where, if you go inside a blob, there are things like overview, and under overview we copied this particular property called URL. So let me copy it once again, and let's inspect the URL of this particular blob, and it looks somewhat like this. We said it is the name of the storage account .blob.core.windows.net, the name of the service, and this entire thing is called as a fully qualified domain name. And after that, we said it is the name of the container, test container. Then we said it is sample1.jpg, the name of the blob out here. So what I'm going to do going forward is that, there's something called version snapshot edits, and there's something called generate SAS. The SAS here stands for shared access signature. This is the concept that I want to really get into. If I go into this, there is something called, okay, fine, a shared access signature is a URI, unique resource identifier, that grants restricted access to your Azure storage blobs. Use it when you want to grant access for a specific time and all that stuff. I'll say, okay, good, not a problem. Let's see what I can do with this. Let's scroll down. It's saying, okay, fine, the key here that I'll generate is key one. When it says key, the point here is that when you create a storage account, let's go back and create a storage account again. And let's come here and let's say hit the create button. I'm not doing any creation, but if you look at this one, there is something called as encryption, and in here there is something called keys, Microsoft managed keys, and there's something called customer managed keys in case you have keys and all these things out here. Now, what really happens out here is this: when encryption is on, again, you don't have an option to switch the encryption off. You have the option to go with the encryption out here. It will be by default be created. And did you all hear about this term called encryption anywhere? Encrypted format and etc. Files, and there be some password that you need to, let's say, which is not a human readable format. Encrypted is something that which is not a human readable format, but there is something else called decryption. So there are two things: encryption and decryption. So decryption is again getting back your data into a human readable format. And in order for you to perform a decryption, you need something called as a decryption key. So keys, you need a key out here. That's the reason all the data, all the blob that you store inside a storage account at rest. When I say at rest, when the blob is not being touched, when it's not being read, when it's not being written, data at rest is encrypted. We say data at rest is being encrypted, which means that every data that is there at rest, someone just cannot come here and kind of look into your blobs out there. Reason being, you have something called as a keys, and I have used an option called Microsoft managed key. I'm telling, okay, fine, Microsoft, you give me a key. I'm not going to touch this out because I don't want to take the headache of maintaining keys, losing it out, and all that stuff. So you give me a key, and now I'm telling Microsoft that the key that you generate, if I give it to someone, what kind of a permission they will have on my blob? Whether is it just a read permission? Is it create? Can they use this key and create a new blob? Can they write? Can they delete? What can they really do out here? I'll say, okay, fine. I just want someone with this particular key only to read, not do anything else. And then you have a start and an end time. Wherein it's telling you, okay, fine. If you generate this key, let's say you can reduce this particular time interval, you can increase this time interval, you can also take it to a year or two. You can also go ahead and do that. You can just click on this and just tell that, what, how long the key you want to, let's say, you're generating will be, let's say, holding this out. You can say, I just want this for, let's say, about 24 hours. You can just put this here, just put it in this way, in this particular format. I'll just scroll down and I'll tell that this key that I generate is only valid over a HTTPS connection, not a HTTP. So someone who's using this key should come from a secure internet connection, etc. And I'll say generate ACS token and URL. Uh, you, if you do not give anything out here, it will allow everyone. But if you give IP addresses specifically, I'm not touching this because I haven't covered what is IP and all these things. So if you give the IP address of a particular person, only that particular person will be able to use this key and look at your data. You can give a comma separated list of people who will have access up there. So you can also do that as such. So if I hit that button, I get something called blob sas URL. Now if I copy this out and go back into my notepad and just paste it out below this one. Again, this is a huge URL that gets generated. But see, until this part, the URL is the same. Until this part, until this JPG, the URL is the same. After that, there's a question mark, which means add. And after that, there is a key that is getting added. SP, it's telling permissions, read, start time, ST start time, and after that, you have something called end time. Then you have what kind of an access do someone does have something like the read and all that stuff. And after that, you have the entire key. This is the decryption key. So the data is encrypted. In order to open up this particular data, you will need a key. This is the decryption key that is getting attached to that entire URL out there, which is valid for 24 hours. I'm only generating this one for 24 hours. And someone with this key will only have access to read the data, not do anything with this. So I'll copy this out. I'll come here into the browser. I'll paste this out, and using this, I will be able to access the data, but using the normal URL, which is this one, and paste it into the browser, you will get this particular error, which means that you cannot bypass the encryption using the normal URL if the data is sitting in a private access level. So in the interview, the interviewer can come up with something like, you know what, I am putting the URL of a blob, I'm getting such a kind of an error. What can you, let's say, identify by this particular error? How do you troubleshoot this? What is a secured way of storing or secured way of giving someone the access to my storage? So now someone with this URL can only look at your blob, and no one else with the normal public URL can, let's say, look at your blob data out here. And even someone with this particular URL will only have access for the next 24 hours. If I come tomorrow in the afternoon and then try to, let's say, use the same URL and hit this out, I might end up getting the same error telling that you cannot access the resource out here. So shared access signatures are a way to securely go ahead and share the data across over the internet using something known as encryption keys. And these keys are only valid till the time that you set out here, till the expiration time that you set out here. And after that, people won't be able to access the data as such. But again, the issue with generations of the keys is that, see, each and every blob will have its own unique key. Each and every blob out here, because each and every blob is encrypted. Each and every blob is encrypted in a different way. So each and every blob, for each and every blob, you'll have to generate its own key out there, which becomes very tricky because under a storage container, the amount of blobs that I can store are, let's say, possibly it's like an unlimited out there, because the entire limit of a storage account is 500 terabyte. So if I go and store blobs out here, I can store a blob until I reach the maximum limit of 500 terabyte out here, which means that for an organization, the amount of blobs that you kind of, let's say, deal with are practically millions. Like, you'll have, like, let's say, thousands and thousands of, let's say, blobs out here, for which it's practically impossible for you to go ahead and, let's say, generate the shared access signature at each and every individual blob level, which becomes very tricky. That's the reason Microsoft also gives you an option to generate the same shared access signature on the container level as well. Until now, I've been generating on the blob level. If I go and take this shared access token or shared access signature, one and the same, if I generate it at a container level, then using this particular shared access signature or shared access URL, I'll be able to access all the data within my container. All the data is there within my container. So let's look at that. Let's look at that option as well. I'll say shared access tokens. Again, looks the same. It's key one. It's telling what kind of a permission do you want. I'll say I need a read, I need add. You can basically go ahead and give what kind of permission that you need. Add, create, delete, write, list, and all that stuff. The start time and the end time, I'm okay with this. I will say generate a shared access token and a URL. I'll just copy this out. I'll just paste it out here. So the above one is the blob. The below one is the blob with SAS. And the one that I'm about to paste here, let's paste it out here, is a container SAS. So this is the simple blob URL. Let me place this out. Simple blob. This is blob SAS. This is a container SAS. And if you look at both of them, right, the blob SAS is going further and adding, let's say, that particular URL for that particular, let's say, image, telling sample1.jpg or sample2.jpg, 3.jpg, whatever it is. Container is just ending here. Saying that, okay, fine, it terminates at the container. So all these permissions are at the container level. And if I just, let's say, scroll this out, again, the key that got generated at a blob level and the key that's getting generated at a container level are completely different. which means Microsoft at different levels maintains different keys out here for you to go ahead and access this out. So if I copy this out and go into my browser, again, I won't get any data out here because I'm trying to directly hit the container. I'm not specifying which blob that I want to hit. I'm trying to read the container. There's something that I cannot really read on the container out here. So in the URL, let me also try giving something like sample1.jpg in the data, or whatever it's there inside this. Let's go ahead inside the container. Let's check this out. Sample3 is there. So I can just go ahead, take sample3 in place of sample1. Be able to load the data out here, which means that using this URL, I can append to my, let's say, blob, and I can load that out. Again, it's a workable solution provided you have limited amount of blobs out here. But this solution is that becomes very, very difficult if you have, like, let's say, tons and tons of data inside a container out there. And that is where data management software comes into picture, because it's very difficult to do all these things using my browser. That's where I need a data management software, something like Storage Explorer. We'll talk about what the Storage Explorer is, how to use it. But any questions until here that I can take? I'll just take a quick pause to see if there are any questions or any confusions till here that I can have. Yes, go ahead, please. Okay, if you have a bunch of files, yes. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Okay. Mhm. Okay, we can do that. Correct. You can do that using that particular data management software out here. So you cannot do it directly using the browser. Again, if you have to directly do using it via the browser, you have to design your own application that uses that URL and displays all the blobs out there. Okay. A container, blob container. Correct. So you can have again multiple, like you can have many blob containers out here, and inside each and every container you can have multiple blobs. So the graph keeps on spanning across. So one tenant, multiple subscription under one tenant, one subscription, multiple resource groups under one subscription, one resource group, multiple storage accounts under one, let's say, resource group, one storage account, multiple containers, one container, multiple blobs. So it keeps on increasing. The tree keeps on increasing out here as such. Shared access signature. Just signature. Correct. Signature is nothing but a key to your blob or to your container. I'm sorry, can you come again, please? Mhm. 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 For the blob, we have a shared access signature, right? We generated something called abbreviation for a blob, binary large object. Binary large object meaning it's just binary data, unstructured data. So it's a binary large object out here for the blob as such. Yes. Anyone, any questions online, offline, anyone, anything else that I can take? Hmm. While sharing the URL, one more URL. Okay, fine. I'll just go back there. Mhm. So there are two things that you have to observe. This is not a URL. This is a key. You're just taking this key and adding to the URL. That's it. You're just taking this key, adding to, let's say, the normal link that becomes a URL. This is just the key. So it gives you options either to share a key or to share the URL out here as such. Not the same, but fine. If I copy this and give you the key, if I give you the URL, you are able to open. If I'll just give you the key, put it on your browser, are you able to open? So it's different. Key is, let's say, it's a medium to reach your blob via a kind of programming language or a kind of data management software, etc. URL is a unique resource link which you can access over the browser directly. So it is different. You can take a key, add it to a URL, then it'll work. If you directly take a key, no, it won't. All right, so let me go there and let me talk about something called as a data management software in the form of Microsoft Storage Explorer. Again, it's a free software that Microsoft kind of provides to you so that you can manage multiple containers, multiple blobs inside multiple containers, download them, upload them, do whatever you want to do, given you have the access out there. And this software is available for, let's say, Mac OS, Linux OS, and all these things out here. Since I'm using a Windows, I'll just go ahead to the download button out there, and it will take some time to go ahead and download this out. And this is a 104 MB software out here. Again, it's an exe file what Microsoft gives you. So once you have this exe file, just do a simple double click on that. It's a very straightforward installation. You don't really have to do anything. Just click on that, say next and next, install this out. Like any other software, once you install this out, go to your search window and say Storage Explorer, and you get an application out here telling something called as Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer. This is an application that you get out there. Again, just download the exe, install this out as a regular software, and once you have this, open this out, and you will get a console something like this telling that Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer and etc. And in here, let me expand this out, and then it's telling, okay, fine, you can get started, you can do all these things out here and etc. I will do one thing. I have a key and also a URL that I generated at a container level. So I have this at a container level, and this key has a permission to read. Now for this key to work, I also need a permission to list. It's just not read, I also need to list. Reason being, I have multiple blobs in my container. I don't even want to read them. First, I want to list them. I want to say, okay, fine, I have these many, and then I want to read them out. So I'll say, okay, fine, read and list, and then I'll go ahead generate the SAS token once again, and I'll copy this particular URL. I'll copy this out, go into my Storage Explorer, and in the left hand side, there is this plug which is telling open connection dialog. I'll click on this one, and as and when I click on this one, it's telling you, okay, fine, what do you want to really connect to? Do you want to connect to a storage account? Do you want to connect to a blob? Do you want to connect to a subscription of Azure? I would say, okay, fine, I want to connect to something known as a blob container because this is where I have the key. And here it's telling, okay, fine, do you want to sign into the blob container using Azure Active Directory? Meaning, do you directly have the access onto, let's say, that particular container? If I go back, I also have something called what? Identity and access management that I can give someone on the container level directly. But let's say he's an external employee, but still wants, let's say, the data management, and I do not really give any access out there. He can bypass it using something called shared access signature URL, which is SAS, or if I have my blob container at a container level access, this is the option that he can use. Anonymous. Just give, let's say, the URL and you can directly go ahead and access this out. But in my case, I have something called SAS, shared access signature. I just scroll forward and it's asking me blob container SAS URL. I'll just paste this in, and as soon as I paste it in, it's telling, okay, fine, you want to connect to something known as a test container. And it's telling this is the display name that I do have. I'll say, great, this is what I wanted to connect to. This name is automatically generated because you have that same name out here. Here again, this name is for you. You can change this to anything. You can change this to anything. This is for your convention, but I'll just keep it as this container. I'll say next, and it's telling you, okay, fine. The display name is this container. Resource name is also this container. The endpoint you're connecting to, or the URL that you're connecting to, is this the storage account, which is some storage account.blob.co.windows.net, and you have the SAS, and you're connecting to the container of that particular storage account out here. And I'll say, are you okay with this? I'll say yes, I'm okay with this. I'll say connect. So what it does is that it establishes a connection between your computer and that particular storage account. And if you look at this, it says the connection is successfully added. And then if you see this, I am now connected to something known as the blob container, and all these files or all these blobs is something that I'm able to see. Not only see, I'll be able to download this out, or I can save this out in one of the folders of my computer, or I can do whatever that I want to, depending upon the permission level that I do have, which now makes it easier for me to just go ahead and search for a particular blob inside this particular container, telling that okay, fine, this is the name of the blob that I'm looking at, or one specific application, or one specific blob that I want to look at, and so on and so forth. And rather than using a browser and opening this out, this is considered to be a secured way, and also one of the easiest way to go ahead and manage your data, because using a browser I can, yes, do some limited things out there, but using the storage explorer without having to log into my Azure portal, I don't have to come to my Azure portal all the way. I can just use this particular software to go ahead and start managing all my data. Now let's do one thing. I basically have this particular access. I will do a right click, and I'll try to delete this out. I'll just say delete this out, and it's setting okay, fine. Do you want to delete this out? I'll say yes. And as and when I started to delete it out, it said failed to start the delete, insufficient credentials. So Storage Explorer was very quick to identify that I only have read and list. I don't have the option to go ahead and delete this out. Reason being, it will simply throw the error telling that, you know what, I'm sorry, I won't be able to delete this out. Even if you want me to, I won't be able to. Reason being, you have just a read access out there. But let's say one thing, let's do one thing. Uh, mhm. Yes, you will still get the same error because you only have a read access on this container. If you want to upload, then the option has to be something like add and create. You cannot, I mean, without giving write, you can say add, create, and then write and all that stuff, and cannot give a delete. If you don't give a delete, I'm good with that. But if you give everything, let's say add, create, delete, and all that stuff, and I go ahead and let's say generate this out, and then take the URL, I can again connect back to the same container. Now here I've connected back to the same container using a SAS. I'm again using a SAS, shared access signature, connecting to the same container, but this time around, the SAS has a higher privilege. It not only has a read and list, it also has write, delete, and all that stuff. So let me try that. Let me click on the dialog box once again. Let me say blob container. Let me say shared access signature URL. I'll put this in, and now it's automatically telling that okay, fine, it is test container, but that's the first, again, you're going ahead and connecting to that. So I'll say SAS, I'll say higher privilege. This is for me to kind of look at. Again, the display name is something like this for you to understand what are you connecting to, but the actual resource that you're connecting to is still a test container inside setting the same storage account. But here the permission list that you have is what? Read, add, create, write, delete, list, and all that stuff. So you have multiple accesses out here. I'll say connect, and now I'm connected to the same container with a higher privilege, which means that again you will be able to see the same blobs here, the same things here. But in here, since you have connected with, let's say, a SAS key, that has read, delete, and etc., just do a right click and say delete this out, and you can say yes. And this is now starting the delete option. This is now going ahead and trying to delete this out, and that's gone. It's not only gone here. If you go back into your container, it's also gone here. Whatever operations that you do on a whatever operations that you do using that particular key in a storage explorer, all those things will get reflected real time into your container as well. So as and when you delete it, as and when you upload something, I can upload something from here. I can say upload files. I'll say click on, let's say this one, let's say is no file selected. I can just go ahead, I can, let's see, I will have something in my folder. I can go and upload some copy out here, and it will still work. I'm trying to, let's say, use this particular, let's say, D drive of my system, upload it out into the container, and it will still work out here. Deleted the blob. How to recover it? Yes, you can recover it. I'll also show you that. Hmm? Uh, Through the link, as in like through the storage explorer, you can do that. You can do that, but provided I will have to, let's say, go ahead and list that down. But let's see this. I'll just come back to that. So I've uploaded something, and I'll just go back into my container. I'll refresh this out. I have the same file or the same blob that is getting uploaded as well out here. So let me come back. So the question here specifically is that I deleted something. Can I undelete it? Can I, let's say, undo the same delete out there? So yes, provided you have an option called soft delete enabled. There's something called soft delete. When you go here, there's something called advanced, and in the advanced we just went ahead and said which visit whether it's like hot or cool out there. There's something called data protection here. In the data protection, there is something called enable soft delete for blobs, meaning it's telling, okay, fine, if your blob gets deleted accidentally, do you want to restore it back, do you want to recover it back? I said yes, I take this out. By default it is ticked out, and here it is telling days to retain your blob, meaning until, if you delete your blob today, if you have the soft delete enabled for 7 days, until a period of the next 7 days, you can go in that particular next 7 days and recover it back. Eighth day, no, you don't have an option to go ahead and do that. Again, this is something that you can tweak between 1 to 365 days. You have an option to go ahead and, let's say, put this between 1 and 365 days out there. I'll put it as 7. You also have the soft delete option for containers, meaning what if your entire container got deleted? Can you recover it back? Yes. Also, you can change this option after you create your storage account. After you create a storage account, just type data protection. Just scroll down. There is something called data protection out here. Same thing, you will get it here as well. Enable soft delete for blob 7 days, enable soft delete for containers 7 days out here, and etc. So let me try doing it. I have never, let's say, really done this, let's say, from the the explorer out here. Let's see if I have to undelete this out. Okay, manage versions. I don't think you'll be able to, let's say, look at your deleted blobs from here. Let's see actions. Let's see properties. Okay, I'll check this out to see. Okay, there's active blobs default. Okay, active and soft deleted blobs. There's something called active blobs out here. There's something called active and soft deleted, which means that you have all these blobs that I deleted. So firstly, I uploaded copy version and all that stuff. All these things are getting shown because I've uploaded some blobs earlier and then I deleted them. So now if I click on this and say active and soft deleted, I have this one. Uh, this is something that I deleted just now, which is sample one, and I can undelete this out. I can say undelete the selected. It's saying okay, fine, you can undelete this. I'll say okay, and now it's telling okay, fine, it's now being undeleted. And if I go back and just see active, I now have the sample one out here as such. Again, the same thing, I'll be able to do it from the storage explorer on the portal itself. So if I go into the portal, go into the test container, there is something called show deleted blobs, which will now tell me what is the retention that is left. 6 more days. Selling from now 6 more days because the total is 7. I can click on this one. I can just, let's say, scroll entirely to the right, click on these three dots and say undelete this out. So yes, you can do all these operations provided you have the access. Provided you have the access, you can do this. If you only have a read or a list, you cannot even delete it. You can just go ahead, let's say, read and list this out. You can download it at max. You cannot delete this out as such. So using a storage explorer, you can now go ahead, look at all the blobs that are there inside a container and do all these actions like delete, undelete, upload, provided you have the right access out there. If you don't, you won't be able to do all these things. You cannot even go ahead, let's say, delete this out in the first place. If I click on delete option out here, it will simply tell, okay, fine, do you want to delete? I'll say yes. It will simply fail to start the delete. It will even not even consider it deleting. Reason being, in here I only have a read and list. In here I have a read, list, write, delete, add, and everything. Yes, yes. Mhm. Okay. How to retrieve just a single file? If you delete 100 to 200, very simple. You have to go here, identify which blob that you want to retrieve, and just go ahead, click on that particular blob, and just say and delete out there. Yes. Instead of, let's say, yes, instead of doing that, you can search it also. You can just say sample or something like this. Sample three, what you want to, let's say, have. You can search it also. Yes, you can do that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. These are single blobs. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Okay. You want bulk of this one? You'll have to select that out. Let's see if I am able to select this out. I'm pressing the control key on my keyboard, selecting these files. If you do a control A, it will select everything. It will select everything on there. So for which you'll have to do a specific. If you want to, let's say, undelete the specific, you can select those specific. For example, let's say I want to select all these things and I'll say undelete, undelete selected, or I can say undeleted by date. I'll say whatever date that I deleted, for example, yesterday to today, whatever I deleted, undelete everything. Or if you want to just select these three, undelete selected, I'll just go ahead and retrieve those three out there. So it's now telling undeleted, success, three out here. Just go back. Those three have come back. So you can press the control key on your keyboard or undelete it by a specific date. Whatever has been deleted on that particular date, you want to retrieve it back. Yes, you can do that. Yes, any more questions here? Yes, into Explorer. Okay. Mm-hmm. High privilege. Mm-hmm. We created with this, yes. We did not overwrite. We added something else. We did not overwrite it. We did not overwrite. First time, sorry, first time, same container, correct. Hmm. No, it is not overwritten. It is added again. It is added. When you say same container, yes, it's same container. Special approvals, yes. Yes, your question specifically. hmm hmm When you say overwrite, what exactly do you mean by here? Mm, okay, okay, correct. Yes, correct. But I am not giving access level. I'm generating a key. I am telling I'm giving you a key. I'm giving a key to my house. With that key, you can just open the lock. But I'm generating one more key. I'm telling, okay, fine, this is the second key that you have. If you want to ever write, read, or something, please take the second key. Then you can go ahead into the house and then go ahead and loot, write, read, delete, and all that stuff. You have two keys right now, right? One key will not override the other, will it? Permissions, yes. The identity and access management, yes. That is an additive. This is not. This is a key to bypass the identity and access management out here. You can have multiple keys at any given point in time. So it won't override, it will complement each other. Yes. Any more questions here?
Hi, Kiran.
Good, please.
Hi, Kiran. This is you're doing the Storage Explorer in a different portal, right?
Can you come again, please? I didn't get your question.
This Microsoft Azure storage portal you are on the screen right now. This is apart from that portal dot Azure is right.
This is apart from, yes, portal.azure.com, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Can you show me how to come to this again? Once.
Sure. So, in order to get into this one, very firstly, you will have to
Yeah.
download this out using this particular link. So, again, I got into this link by just telling Azure Storage Explorer. I just Googled out telling Azure Storage Explorer, and the very first link it's telling
Okay.
Storage Explorer Cloud Storage Management Software.
Mhm.
Just hit the download button, and as and when you hit the download button, you will have an exe file that will get downloaded onto your system. Double click on this one,
Mhm.
and after that, you will have something known as Storage Explorer that you will see out here as an application. And once you open
Okay.
this application, you will get such a kind of a page. You want to connect your
Mhm.
container? From here, open this dialog connect. Say container. Say shared access signature URL, and give your URL out here. And once you give the URL, just say next and connect to it, so that you will be able to see this view that I'm able to see out here.
Oh, here we are not, we didn't log in anything, right? How our data will come over here?
Because you don't have to log in. You have generated something called a key for your data. So you don't really have to log in. That's the
Okay.
entire point.
We have to copy that key over here.
You'll have to copy and paste that key out there. Yes.
Okay, then our data will be visible here.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Any more questions here? Good, please. hmm read and list. Correct. You can download the file. hmm Again, you can download the file. You're allowed to download the file, and you're only allowed to download the file because I have given you a key. I, as an administrator, have given you the key. Take the file, download it. Let's say it's a text document. You download this out. You do whatever you want to do with the text document. You will have a local copy. You'll have a local copy of it. You cannot really, let's say, upload it back again. My clients, whoever are, let's say, working, let's say, for example, this storage account is for a client called ABC. My client will not look at a local copy. He will look at the copy that is there inside the container of this. So I'm maintaining the state of my file out there. So when I say it is downloadable, it's a secure download. I mean, you can do anything, but you cannot re-upload it back again. If I'm allowing you to re-upload, then yes. Then I'm allowing you to change the state of the data. Kind of, yes. You don't really have, because read will give you a download. Again, even from your browser, right? You'll still be able to click, do a right click and say, copy image. You can just save this images and then you can just save this out. You do not have, it will not give you the option to, let's say, restrict a download as such, which it shouldn't ideally. Yes, any more questions here? Sorry, can you come again, please? Correct. No, because you're already connected with that particular key. So you cannot change the key. You have to detach this. So if you click on this one, there's something called detach. Detach and reattach it with a different key out there. Good question. Can we give the storage account access? My question, why do you want the storage account access? Is because probably you have multiple containers in your storage account. Right now, I am giving you the keys to individual containers. Just like blobs, I can have thousands of containers. If you want to access all the containers at one go, then yes, go to your storage account. Now, this is the container view. If you click on the storage account, this is the storage account out here that I'm looking at. So just scroll down and I'll just remove this out. There's something called data protection. I'll just remove this out. Just scroll down, shared access signature. You also have the option to generate a shared access signature at a storage account level, which we'll talk about. But I want you all to try this out. Before I talk about this, I want you all to try it out. Click on this, see what are the options that you have. Copy that shared access URL that you generate. Go to Storage Explorer, click on Connect, and this time when you do a connect, don't say blob container, say storage account or a service. Here it's going to ask you, do you have a connection string or do you have something called a shared access URL or do you have the account name and the key? Please enter one of these options and you can directly connect with your storage account. And if you do so, you will be able to see something like this. In the left hand side, this is a very old storage account that I connected to. You'll be able to see something like this. And if you click on this, you'll be able to see the containers, files, and everything inside the storage account. So you can move your data from one container to the other, or you can upload your data from one container. You can delete your containers and all these things using the direct storage account connect. Yes, any more questions, guys?
Uh, yeah, hi. I got a question.
Good, please.
Yeah, the changes you have done in the Storage Explorer, can we see
Mhm.
like in the Azure portal what he done,
Yes,
like deleted, added?
yes, you'll be able to see it, provided you need some time out here. The changes that you do at, let's say, for example, if you see, there is something called put a blob container. I added some data, I deleted something. Everything will be listed. Sorry, everything will be listed under the activity log out here. So all these things will be getting reflected at the activity log, telling who's doing what kind of a change out here and etc. Does it answer your question? Okay. Yes. Any questions that I can take till you? Explorer. Mhm. Yes. No, you cannot have it for resource group and everything. It's only for storage account. It's a software management. It's a data software management, only available for storage account out here. Again, you can say that there is something called SQL server that you can create inside this one. Can I connect using this one to a SQL server? No. SQL works in a different way. It's a structured data. This is an unstructured data. Structured data, you have something called SSMS, SQL Server Management Studios, and all that stuff. So yes, this software called Storage Explorer is only for, let's say, again, it's only for storage account, only for things inside a storage account like tables, files, queues, blobs, and etc. Yes, any more questions? Okay, so what I want you to try is that I tried connecting to a container using some lower privileges like read and list, also higher privileges like read list and etc. I tried how to delete it out and all that stuff. I want you all to go ahead and see how you can generate a shared access signature at a storage account level, and then let's say connect to it. So now I'm doing three things. One, I saw how to generate a shared access signature at a blob and access it using directly the browser. Two, I generated a shared access signature at a container level using a storage explorer. I accessed it out. Now I am asking you all to do it at this level and tell me what is the difference between these three levels as out here as such. Okay, and in tomorrow's session, we'll discuss on this one and we'll discuss further more topics out here. All right, so that's it from my end today, guys. Thank you and have a good day ahead. We'll meet tomorrow. We'll discuss more on this one. Thank you.